Now I would like to introduce you to our speakers. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Robert Guzman and Gabe Perez, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to them. And thank you so much for taking your time to present today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Robert Guzman. Joining me is Gabe Perez. Welcome to Tips and Tools to Connect the Adult Education Community to the American Job Centers. Thank you to ICCB and all the Transitions Academy community for inviting us. Yeah, let's get started. It's exciting. Our objective today is just to share lessons learned while connecting communities with the American Job Centers. And we're just going to do a quick introduction of my role as the one-stop operator, external affairs director at ScaleLIT. I'm going to hand it over to Gabe, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Career Pathways Navigators and our role in the workforce system and the American Job Center system. And we're going to go deep into lessons learned and building connections. We're going to talk about developing deep relationships, being knowledgeable of partners and your surroundings and your ecosystem, and maintaining strong communication. So, all right, let's get started. As I mentioned, my name is Robert Guzman. I'm with ScaleLIT, External Affairs Director. I am part of the one-stop team, so I oversee the service integration for 10 American Job Centers in Cook County. I also have the honor of supervising 4 full-time Career Pathways Navigators located at 4 American Job Centers. So that's me. And then joining me is Gabe. He is our Near West Career Pathways Navigator housed at an American Job Center in Pilsen. So yeah. All right. And then a lot of you guys might have known us as the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition. But this past April, we changed our name to ScaleLIT. So it's ScaleLIT because it represents more of what we do now. We actually are aligning all our programs: digital literacy, health literacy, career pathways, workforce development, advocacy. So we're doing more than just literacy. So that's why we changed our name to ScaleLIT. So, okay. Thank you, Gabe. So a little bit about my role. So like I mentioned, I am the External Affairs Director for LWIA 7. So that's Cook County. There's 10 American Job Centers located within the county, 5 in the city and 5 in the suburbs. You know, some are housed, some are co-located with the Illinois Department of Employment Security. Some of them are housed at a community college. Some are standalone American Job Centers, so there's no partners there. So it's a different workforce ecosystem at each of the American Job Centers. And I also have the honor of visiting each American Job Center once a month for the past, I believe, almost 3 years. So I've learned a lot about relationship building and communication and just being knowledgeable of what the American Job Center has to offer and keeping everyone in the loop. So I'm very excited to be presenting here today. So next slide. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead, Gabe. I'm gonna hand it over to Gabe.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I'm proud to be a navigator smack in the middle of the city of Chicago in a neighborhood called Pilsen. While ScaleLIT fulfills the role as a one-stop operator, we're also developing our Career Pathways Navigator team. These departments work in tandem with service providers. However, we navigators work closely with participants and students. So we ensure that our participants are knowledgeable about what we do. We connect them to the right services, which they ultimately choose to be the right services for themselves. And we contact them to the right people. We have relationships with those that are in the know of every single aspect of the process to be onboarded and enrolled. So we want to make sure they're making those connections and that we follow up with the same connections. We want to make sure that the participants are headed in the right path for these goals. And one of the promises that we do in our orientations is that the participant feels comfortable and understands what environment they're going to, whether it's an informational session or a 3-hour day where it's an orientation and then taking something like a CASAS test, for example. We take pride in preparing our participants to have that knowledge base and to also invest their time the best way possible.
So this is this is a timeline of our commitment to career pathways. As you see, I joined CCLC, now ScaleLIT, back in 2018 as their first ever navigator to be housed at an American Job Center to connect adult education to workforce and the core partners there, supportive services. And I did that for about 30 months. So for 30 months, I was the navigator at the American Job Center, connecting job seekers to career technical education programs, to bridge programs, to GED programs, and vice versa. I was connecting adult ed students and CTE students to the services at the American Job Center. And I did this for about 20 months, and I tracked everything. And then in February of 2020, the National Skills Coalition awarded us the Firebrand Award for our work and service integration. And a couple months into the pandemic, we were able to duplicate the successful model at another American Job Center, because we saw the need in another area in Chicago. And then in October of 2020, we actually were awarded the one-stop operator contract, and I'm happy to announce that we're entering our third year as a one-stop operator, over the service integration. And then in 2022, we were able to add 2 more navigators. So now we have a total of 4 navigators housed at American Job Centers, connecting career technical education, adult education, WIOA services, and I was going to wait to the end, Gabe, but I want to announce now that through through the American Rescue Plan Act funds, we are now going to be able to have 4 more navigators in the suburban American Job Center. So we'll have a total of 8 to 9 navigators at these American Job Centers. So we need to add that to our timeline. But yeah, we've always been really committed and on the front lines of career pathways and always trying to find ways to, integrate our WIOA partners. So yeah, thank you so much, Gabe. And this is the one-stop system. If you are not familiar with your one-stop system, this is across all of Illinois and the United States and locally. As you can see, us ScaleLIT as a one-stop operator, we are like the glue, the cement between the bricks that keep all the partners together. So we do that by facilitating 10 American Job Center monthly partner meetings a month, where all the partners, including CTE and adult ed and Title I and the Illinois Department of Employment Security, we all meet once a month and we provide updates to each other. We share resources. It's really where a lot of the service integration and collaboration kind of spark. And we're just a neutral entity that just kind of keeps everyone in the same loop. We send out newsletters. Actually, our navigators attend these monthly partner meetings and are connected to all the partners. So yeah, so this is kind of the system here.
Oh. So I'd like to just do a quick little audience check-in, if you don't mind typing into the chat and let us know, or with a show of thumbs up, you're familiar with your local American Job Center. I have a limited view, so I'm going to scroll down. All right. Thank you, Mandy. Anybody else? Bianca?
Yeah, and I do want to say, Gabe, that when I first, and you yourself when you walked in as the first navigator, the navigator, is that sometimes you just don't know, who your WIOA Title I partner is, or where is your American Job Center located, or who's your one stop. So I encourage everyone to look into see in those.
Definitely. Thank you also for the comment, Alexandra, and everyone else on there, Sandy, and somebody from Universidad Popular. Awesome. How do you know your one-stop operator, your local one-stop operator? And either react on the screen or let us know in chat.
And I do want to let them know, Gabe, that one stops come in different forms. sometimes they're a consortium, sometimes the majority, like before we took over the one-stop operator, the Title I directors, partners were the one-stop operator. Us, we're a non-for-profit, we're a neutral entity, we're not under any title. So comes in very different forms.
Mm-hmm. Great. And lastly, please in the chat, if you could share, how do you make referrals to your partners? You'd love to know your method. Is it electronic, paper-based? Do you have software? It'd be nice to see that method. If anybody has a way, even if we're typing in spreadsheets, it's fine. We'd like to know what your best practices are right now.
So Gabe, we did have Mandy comment. Their Title I operates the one-stop collaboration and referrals could be better. They just started using a prime referral system.
Prime is capitalized. Is that software? Andy, you just type that in.
Yes, and I also just took a bite, so I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. We'll make a note of that. Appreciate the.
Yeah, I just started using it, and again, it's really hard when you have one person running, and as you said, you're a neutral entity, Robert and Gabriel, so it's awesome. Even if you do take over leaderboards. I remember that. But I like the idea of a neutral entity because often I feel like we get bypassed and they try to serve everything in-house. The prime referral is meant to make it easier. I'm getting very few. And they also said, yeah, we trained everyone. And I'm like, no, you did not. So I'll come back in about a year and tell you about our referral system and if it's working. I do know now, we used to never get a referral. They would say we provide the information, but I have gotten about 5 referrals just in the 2-month period that we've had the system. So that's already an improvement, right? I'll take incremental.
Thank you for sharing, Mandy. The next part we're going to be talking about is building those, deep relationships. How do we get to that, to those referrals coming in from different parts of our community, from all the titles at the American Job Center system? A lot of those you saw in those bubbles. How do you get people coming to our partner agencies and having that promoted? So we build those relationships with these organizations. But I just want to ask just a quick show of thumbs up, or actually just a quick type in. Apologize. How do you build those deep relationships? Is there like a word you want to put into the chat? An activity, please feel free to do that. And also, I have the tamales there. I know they're going to be specific about that in a minute. And do you have a point of contact for each of your partners? It's the things to consider. So if you have a no, that's okay. If you have a yes, I really admire you. Resource fairs, definitely. How to build those deep relationships. Yeah, keep them coming. We will be collecting this information, and everything strikes up, we'll definitely talk more about it. But I want to talk about about being present and showing interest and how to start it. Doing site visits is the very first thing you got to do and start developing these relationships. You got to get to know people personally. And we have to be vulnerable and fully human with each other. We got to know each other's story. I have my own story about the relevance of why I'm proud to serve in my own community. I mean, I'm literally not that far away from my American Job Center, and it's working in the community, but it's much more than just the neighborhood that I mentioned. It's an area that's surrounding it by 5 miles, and we get to know more about it. So the partners are have different experiences. If they're from the neighborhood too, they grew up in the neighborhood, they had their own experience as well. So thinking about how it's relative, thinking about how we're making those connections and showing the vulnerability of our own stories and sharing our own stories with those initial contacts and the partners can really build the foundations of the relationship. So as mentioned, listening and learning, right? Be present and show interest. Be present in the activity. Be present in the moment that you're there, and also show interest in the activity. Learning more about what's happening and being aware of your surroundings. Having high energy does not hurt. Robert, has a great rapport. We try to build great rapports in our navigators as well to show that we are invested in the moment and we're invested in the long term as well. And you start with these site visits. You want to come into the buildings. You want to come into the online sessions, right? Some people are still in the hybrid mode. So if they're in a classroom environment, if you can be invited into that or view it, it's an important aspect of that. So you got to attend these important events. You want to take pictures. I can't stress enough how important it is to take pictures everywhere, whether candid, professional settings, just a backdrop with people from the network, people that you're meeting for the first time, documenting who people are. Sometimes we forget we can't match those names to faces. So like you can look into that and like here's a picture with Robert and I and one of our colleagues. If we forget who the lady at the end is, I remember the face. So what's the name? So we know who they are. But if we were in an environment where we're meeting somebody new, we want to make sure that's happening. And then of course you can use those for reports. You can use those for slides. You can use this for a lot of communication material that's relevant, and even success stories. If a partnership that's developed during that time and you take a picture turns into this humongous success story at the end, you have something to pinpoint, say, hey, here's where we met. Here's where we developed the relationship. Here's the event where we met. This is where it started. And if you have those great partnership stories to talk about it, promote these connections on social media. Use all the social media you can use. Remember that they have different reasons behind them, right? Instagram is more about photography than adding flyers. And then Facebook has a lot of potential with links to registration pages, for example. Showing a registration page to the partner as opposed to just a flyer as well is a big assistance. So having that presence and showing that you're aware of how to connect with them is a big one for you. Invite people to other events and the connections to the agencies, and make introductions. If you have other events that are in the network and that in your mind you wanted to connect them to one of your partner agencies that's doing the training, invite them to that event. Have them connect, getting to understand what's happening, or at the very least, have them to build a consciousness of how a connection that might not be happening in the first introduction can be made by seeing the work being done on the ground. So, Robert, actually, you wanted to mention a little bit about this picture?
No, someone actually covered it. I wanted to just say that, as a navigator and now as the external affairs director, I listen. I figured out that it's super important to listen, because here the Illinois Department of Employment Security wanted to have a meeting with me, and the whole time I was just listening about their needs, saying, hey, we're dealing with fraud in the middle of this pandemic. We're dealing with a substantial amount of calls for folks. We had to move our business services team to help us with claims. We need other WIOA partners to come in here, because there's a lot of people that don't know English, don't know computer skills, or don't have those digital literacy skills to even reset their passwords. So we need help. So we began receiving an increased amount of referrals from our Wagner-Peisner partners into the other partners. So yeah, listening, that's what I wanted to say, Gabe, that listening is very important when building relationships.
Thank you. So I'm behind the camera here, but you have to show the opportunities here. And this is an event that was called Careers de Mayo in the neighborhood. And it was one of the Title I partner in the American Job Center set it up. But it set it up in a way that we were bringing in all our partners. And I made sure that Title II adult education programs, training programs were present there, that we had all our navigators there. In the picture you see our other navigators, Robert and Michael there, who's our digital literacy manager. And we wanted to make sure that we were encompassing all our immediate services in training and adult education. The great thing about it is I had people coming up to the table, you see that sign-up sheet, and they would say, well, I'm interested in an IT career. Next to us, like about 4 or 5 tables, the IT job sector center was there. So it's a walkover. It's an easy referral, but it wasn't just an introduction. It's saying, here's an individual that's interested in this particular program in your IT field. We had established that relationship already, but the participant didn't know. So we wanted to make the partner aware. here's the program that we think they're eligible for. This is what they're coming. Here's a resume. Please make a connection. Let us know. And then also let the participant know, come back to our table if there's any additional questions, or maybe that didn't work out. So we could find other opportunities. Other sector centers were there as well. But it was also, also a great opportunity to network with other departments, the human services departments, the employment services departments, the local ones, other agencies that provide training, woodworking training, manufacturing, steelworker training, and a lot of staffing agencies. We do try to pride ourselves in finding opportunity for those that are on the road to citizenship and are looking for opportunities by collecting data like staffing agencies. So we do get a call, and we have a student that's in an ESL program, for example, or in a citizenship program that's looking for an opportunity that they're not quite ready for, like a WIOA-based program. We can connect them to something like a staffing agency or something that can provide education and bridge to a career as they're getting onto the road to citizenship and otherwise. But that's one of the great things about connecting with it. And just want to make sure that you have that by leading by example. And as I mentioned, connecting them to whoever is in the field. So you want to bring that positivity and energy. You want to be in that right mindset. You need to practice self-care. So sometimes we have a lot of things stacked up. Sometimes we're in a different state doing something, or we have meetings in a hybrid type of an environment, and then we have to physically go somewhere, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm not in front of a computer. It's a different type of approach. You can find the best way to do that. If it's listening to classical music, listening to some rock and roll, closing your eyes and having silence for a couple of minutes, drinking some water, some coffee, whatever it is that best helps you center you at home, right? How can you bring those practices into your life? So when you come in and interact with established or new partners, you know how to direct that energy and bring the best you to that. We understand to leave those frustrations and stress and make those interactions the most positive possible. Robert, let us know more about those donuts.
So yeah, Gabe. So this was my first time ever meeting the new South Suburban Cook County at Perry State Director of Workforce, or our new Title I partner. In the field that we are in the community that we're in, there's turnaround, there's promotions, people leave, people come, but it's an opportunity to disrupt. It's an opportunity to disrupt. It's an opportunity to take advantage of. So I went in there with donuts, Krispy Kreme, $11 I think I spent. And it was awesome. Ms. Niasa, she smiled. She said, Robert, I welcomed her to the WIOA community. I walked with her down the hall and spoke to the dean of Perry State. We talked to the career technical education departments, and that was it. And it was over with. It was warm. It was warm relationship. So I do want to say that if you have a relationship and you could help another partner, kind of tap into that relationship, go right ahead. That's very powerful. Warm referrals and warm relationship building is awesome. So yeah, so now I changed from Krispy Kreme donuts, Gabe, to tamales. So now I'm not taking donuts anymore. I'm taking tamales.
Well, it's the season, if you're not aware. It's a season, at least in our neighborhood, right? To start bringing in those tamales more often. So we're going to be moving into being knowledgeable, but I wanted to check in again. So let us know in the chat, how do you stay knowledgeable about what your partners are doing in programs? And also, if you don't mind typing in the chat, how do you share important information with your partners? As you're brainstorming that and thinking about putting that in the chat, just want to acknowledge the comments beforehand. Yes, resource fairs, listening and learning, and being involved in communities we work in for our students is beneficial. Yeah, definitely working within the community and also enticing and involving the community as well into how to start developing things sometimes. It's one of the great things about adult education and training, right? We're adaptable. We definitely want to create curriculum around the needs of the community. So yeah, if nobody has anything to type in, it's fine. If there's any ideas that come up, please feel to feel free to place it in the chat. So want to develop knowledge of all our programs. We got to do our homework. And it's very important. We should have the knowledge of all our programs at the American Job Center, in addition to the services available in the community. In this instance, the Pilsen American Job Center has a preferred network of 12 providers. They're all adult education. They also have bridge programs and technical programs as well. So I'm very knowledgeable about those programs and follow the trends, ask how the schedules are happening. So if something changes to a daytime or a nighttime, or there's an afternoon one, it's in being in the know and also checking in with partners about that. So if a WIOA orientation in the American Job Center is happening only in the daytime or in the afternoon, or it's only virtual, or it's a hybrid, figuring out if there's options for that, and also listening to those that might be referred to them in the front line if they have opinions on the availability or the accessibility to them, and then providing that feedback to our partners and letting them know, hey, there's a couple people that may be asking for a different time or a one-on-one. Would something be possible? So having those conversations can build to networking potential surveys and things like that. And having a one-stop operator is definitely one of the great assets that we have, where we can collect that data and also provide recommendations. Seek out professional development opportunities everywhere you can. Robert mentioned, that there's opportunities out there. He's in a different state right now for a different opportunity. We just went to Atlanta. We went to parts of just central Illinois as well for some great PD today, some great PD as well. Find those opportunities that build knowledge, that can create ideas and best practices for you to partner with your network as well. And so you can facilitate those conversations, and we can talk about improving service delivery and making those appropriate connections. You want to make sure that you're mentioning these timelines, and moving on. Excuse me, double screens. So Robert.
Yeah, Gabe, can you go back to the previous slide?
Sure.
I do want to say something. One thing that we all have in common that are on this call is that we all have the same partners. Our Title I partners, National Able, or ECUS Works, our Title II partners, our Harper College and Oakland College, but everyone has a Wagner-Peisner partner, an IDES in their area. They also have a Department of Human Services in your area. You also have the Division of Rehab. You might have Job Corps instead of the Housing Authority of Cook County, or everyone has a HUD partner, and that's what I think of when it's being knowledgeable programs. Knowing, like I just right now in Illinois, right now in Chicago, we are welcoming Venezuelan refugees, and just me being knowledgeable and having a contact at the Department of Human Services, I was just able to ask them, do they qualify for any type of assistance? They said yes, under some policy, victims of trafficking. So now we're moving towards helping them out. There's a lot of DACA recipients that do not know that they qualify for WIOA Title I, and that's what being knowledgeable about. Is knowing just enough to guide people and help them transition. So, yeah. Thank you, Gabe. And I think the next and the next slide actually is also important. So me as a director, and even as a navigator, and you guys as adult ed and career technical education, practitioners, should be familiar with your local plan. Everyone has a local plan. I have the honor of presenting to our workforce board on a quarterly basis and the service delivery committee. I make it intentional to be knowledgeable of policies or any changes in the workforce development, community. So yeah, and I think we're going to be able to share the link, Gabe, right, at Illinois WorkNet in our follow-up. We could get that. So just that's a big advice. Just be very, very knowledgeable of the policy, and and the programs, and that itself is a win, because wherever you go, you kind of have that knowledge. So thank you, Gabe.
So showing empathy, we talked about being vulnerable, but it's also about being fully human. And how can we best do that and show our vulnerability at certain levels, right? Some of us don't want to share too much, and I understand that. But when I say show empathy and being vulnerable, is talking about what is the motivation behind the work that you do, the organizational work, and how can that potentially cross over to a partner that isn't, at first glance, a direct connection. One of the things that we do is that we work with grammar schools, and because we don't work directly with the students, the children, we work with their parents. There's things like parent universities around the city that we try to make connections with. And there's organizations that are set up out there that do youth programs, but also do programs with the adults to do kind of a family literacy aspect of it. We connect. We want to bring the opportunity and that's in WIOA, the ONA and WIOA, into the field so people are conscious of it. So showing empathy there can be really helpful. Being intentional and listening and connecting to staff at all levels. The best people you can talk to in an American Job Center to be in the know what's happening in the American Job Center. Custodians in the front line. Who is the person in the front desk? Who's the person that's picking up our messes? Because there's more information you can get from those two individuals than anybody else about the operations, the ongoings. We're a tenant in our particular building, and I don't necessarily know everything that's happening via email to my desk when it comes to partnerships. And we get information, at least once a month, sometimes through day-to-day interactions. But those front lines, those partnerships are the ones that can help. But having it at all levels also helps with the frontline staff, the people that work in career coaching, for example, and also their coordinators. That is an important, impactful aspect of the work, but also going a little higher up. What's being planned, the managers, the administrators, what's the potential trend happening in the following months? Showing the empathy of the work that you do and continually reminding what the connection is with our work in navigation. It's like we're helping people with the accessibility of opportunity, and how can we build a sense of equity through that? I don't necessarily use that language all the time, but we always talk about it when we are talking about, well, how can we be part of this event? And if they don't see the relevance behind, well, why would you want to be part of this event if you're only adult education? It's a workforce event. Say, well, because we are leading adult education through Title II to provide workforce opportunities. So it only makes sense to provide people that are coming in to apply for a position to be like, here are adult education and training opportunities for you to come in. So showing that knowledge is also showing an empathy for the people that I'm serving. And that's the best way to check ourselves, right? What's our motivation? Who are we representing? And how can they be connected to the opportunities that a partner or a potential partner can be offering? So dedicate your time to learn what services are being offered by each program, by each partner. What are their timelines? What's their basic eligibility requirements? That's important. We want to make sure we're not sending people over they're not eligible. If someone has a high school diploma, they go into a city college, they're not eligible for the bridge program at no cost, for example. So that's a knowledge base that's learned through just communicating with people that are developing the curricula and putting them in action. You also want to make sure that if people are required to have authorization to work in the United States and you have a pool of individuals that are not quite there, that we're not providing them opportunities that are just giving them a shut door. We don't want to give that impression. We want to make sure that we're providing opportunities that are open and involved to them. Involve our workforce partners, leverage their expertise into that. If we have adult education students that have a ESL level that's at level 5 or higher, that's interested in employment, bring them to the table, they're ready. They have, make sure that their resumes are ready, and we bring them in to a workforce environment and say, look, here are employers, but we also have training programs. Your ESL is developed. Here are training programs that can help you get to that point. It's fairly big with CDL, TDL sector centers, a lot of big connections when we go to those. Be familiar with the local plan, as Robert mentioned, but know your role in what the local plan is. So if you're in the Title II world, understand what the synergy can be and start talking to the right people about how can Title II, how can adult education, how can training providers create curriculum around the needs of employers. Use those partnerships to learn more about what employers are telling them about the pool of participants they're getting in applications, and also their current workforce. What are things that they're finding from their workforce to be a challenge? There's people that are coming to unemployment office because there's skills that they couldn't foster in a certain amount of time. I just got a lady that worked for 25 years in a factory in the office, but is admitting to me that her digital literacy skills aren't at par when their company just upgraded to using something that wasn't MS-DOS, that wasn't using the green screen, and we're using more of a Windows-based GUI. And you're like, I need to build up the skills. I can't be employed there anymore. So finding that connections, talking about it to your partners, and using Title II to build curriculum around it are examples how we're showing the empathy in our work and advocating for our participants, because we want everybody to succeed. We want to be the spokesperson to all our programs, and we want to make sure that we're committed to our partnerships and advocate for the needs of everyone. Robert, do you have anything to say about that picture slide? We were at SARE that day.
Well, I do want to say that we are not experts in everything. For instance, SARE Central has a construction career pathway. Me and Gabe aren't construction people. We don't know any employers that are, looking for construction, but we have job seekers and we have adults that want to go into construction. So we leverage the expertise to them. So all we know is, like Gabe says, we know that you have to be 18 and over, and you have to have a certain math and reading, and you have to have your high school diploma, and you have to have reliable transportation, and so on and so forth. But the real experts are our partners, so as you guys build relationships, just remember that you guys are adult education, career technical education, experts. So, and then, so people are going to leverage your services. Thank you, Gabe. Oh, okay. So, and this is a perfect example. Some of our elected officials, some are completely unaware of what's going on in the American job centers, what adult education does, what career technical education does. So here, the gentleman right next to me is the Cook County Commissioner, Scott Britton. And these are all our WIOA partners. From left to right, you have the Department of Human Services. You have Andrea with Harper College Adult Ed. You have Omar, the gentleman in the middle, that's the Harper College Career Technical Education, my go-to guy. And then you have Biswa to the right, that's from the Division of Rehab. And then behind them is our good partners at the Illinois Department of Employment Security and our Title I director. So what I was trying to do here is like, hey, I can't talk to this elected official because I don't know, I'm not an expert in career technical education, and I'm not a Department of Human Services expert. But what I could do is facilitate a meeting for us together to be strong and collaborative, and then explain to the elected official or officials, this is what we do, and this is how we partner, and this is how we leverage services. Thank you so much. This is working. This is WIOA in the live, I guess. Yeah, so I encourage you to educate your elected officials as much as you can. Be knowledgeable of your other partners' programs, so then you could go ahead and share that information with them. Yeah, go ahead, Gabe. I think we're moving into maintaining strong communications, and the lessons learned there. In our roles, we communicate a lot. So go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah. Another audience check-in, if you don't mind. But I want to acknowledge somebody did type in there, Sandy, about Venezuelan and Colombian refugees in Aurora, trying to connect them to the West Suburban providers. Thanks for letting us know about that. We definitely have American Job Center, at least one American Job Center that is open 24 hours because it's a City of Chicago facility, and it has, Robert, last count over 100 individuals that are needing services. And also just in the innovation of Title II and adult education, I'm in the know to know that we're even like trying to operate temporary adult education at hotels by O'Hare Airport. That's something that came in the channels. We'll be talking about in our local area planning committee this week. So yeah, you know, those are opportunities to build training and adult education opportunities for people like that. If you don't mind typing in the chat, what are some of the ways you maintain strong communication with your partners? You can put that in the chat at any time. And also, how do partners keep you in the loop? What's been working for you? What are they doing to make sure that they're letting you know their updates, their changes? I mean, right now, a big one for us is TAA, trade adjustment, and we're waiting for legislation on that. So I'm really anxious myself to learn about that news because a lot of our Title II partners are providers. How about y'all? How do you get information from your partners? What's the best way? What's a way you love to get information from your partners? Let us know. Just please type it in when you have a chance.
I'm gonna plug the One Stop team. What they do is they get overwhelmed with flyers. But you know, because we facilitate 10 monthly partner meetings, and you know, there's all these events going on. So what we did is we created a newsletter for each American Job Center where the local WIOA partners know what is adult ed up to. Are they registering? There's a new career technical education program in cosmetology or automotive, or you know, so that's, you almost want to, there's different stages that you could stay in contact, and you know, newsletters, emails, so, and standing meetings. Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah, no, and I see, just back to that comment from Sandy. I mean, if you're talking about West Suburban American Job Center, we do have the provider there, Circo, and if you'd like to connect or be part of their meetings to learn more about the opportunities, about people you might be sending over, let us know. We'll provide our contact information at the end. We'll be happy to connect you with newsletters and with any information. We'll be sharing some other info in the chat as well in a bit.
Oh, sorry, Gabe.
No problem.
So communication for me is around my calendar. I attend 10 monthly partner meetings. I have participated and will continue to participate in all the area planning council meetings. I attend cross-agency meetings, so I get to meet with WIOA Title I folks, and then I get to go and speak to the deans and administrators for WIOA Title II. I set up monthly and quarterly site visits, as well as the navigators. All our navigators have, you know, do site visits because they want to visit Olive Harvey, they want to visit Kennedy King, they want to visit Instituto del Progreso Latino to see what is going on at their organization and in their adult ed and technical departments. I take a lot of calls. You know, as my role, I speak to a lot of people, and even that is important. Of like, hey, I haven't spoken. You know, you guys might be able to do this. Is just, you know, I haven't spoken to my Title III partner in a while. Let me give them a call, or let me give them an email, or let me just set up a meeting with them. Virtual meeting. I love in-person meetings. You know, because it's a very different feel. It's more engaging. It develops, you know, trust. But yeah, and even us as the one-stop operator and as navigators, we have to be knowledgeable of other partners' calendars. Like, are you guys registering by semester? You know, are you guys, when is the next career technical education program starting? And what needs to be done before that? So yeah, so then it's very important to know not only your calendar, but your partner's calendars and how they align with yours. So. All right, thanks, Gabe. Oh, so this is a very nice picture of us doing outreach event. That's part of your calendar. We knew 2 months in ahead that this event was going to happen, and we went ahead and we circulated it among all our WIOA partners. we let them know not only did we take our flyers, but we also took partner flyers that couldn't make it to the event, so invite your partners to all your important events and meetings. I actually had the honor to attend a lot of GED graduations this past summer, and I look forward to the December celebrations as well. I had a really good time at the Moraine Valley Community College GED graduation, where I met with students and transitioned them to be job seekers. I attend a lot of fundraisers. Like if you guys attend fundraisers or you guys attend each other's potlucks are coming up, Christmas parties are coming up, that's just kind of a way to build relationships. And the bottom one where it says show your partners the benefit of the relationship, demonstrate how resourceful your organization can be. I know we might work in the adult ed department, or we might work in the career technical education department, but there's so much going on at your organization and so much going on at your community college that's the kind of information that our partners seek for, because their heads are sometimes like filing for unemployment, filing claims, and or their other head might be like SNAP assistance. But you bringing that information consistently, you almost become like their consultant. So, all right. Thank you, Gabe. Great picture. And then all our navigators, and including myself, we love doing outreach and sharing flyers and marketing materials. Like Gabe, mentioned earlier, we do share stuff on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We circulate our partners flyers among our network. It's kind of works both ways. If you're doing these type of tasks or these type of activities for your partners, I'm sure they're going to do it for you as well. It's just kind of it works both ways when it comes to promoting each other's programs. So thank you, Gabe. Yeah, and adult education matters. Advocacy. I've never went through grassroots training or I never got a policy or advocacy, certification or degree, but that's something that comes natural to all of us. Is when you have the opportunity to voice or be a spokesperson, not only for your department, not only for your program, but for all of the WIOA partners and all of your stakeholders. That's awesome. I had my 30-second, I always have my 30-second elevator speech ready to go anytime I encounter an elected official. I'm currently here at New Orleans for the National Skills Coalition States Forum, where I'll be talking to advocacy and policy people about what we're doing in Chicago and what we're doing in the state of Illinois when it comes to service integration. So yeah, adult ed matters.
Yeah, definitely, Robert. And I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of things in the chat. People were asking about, a close by WorkNet area, which is awesome to have information about something close, but they responded that Spanish language wasn't very available. And we, of course, do the same thing here. If we are in an area where a certain language has more prevalence in an American Job Center, we definitely do a referral there. So in this particular case, the West Suburban one does have services and also provides WIOA orientations in the Spanish language. Great. So we talked about building relationships, and I wanted to give an example of how we've built a relationship with Title IV through the Department of Rehabilitative Services in Illinois. We set up introductions and connected the dots when we started here. So we're looking here at a circle, right? We're starting at number 1 up to a darker shaded number 5. We set up connections and the dots, right? We had a workforce development unit, and we focused on our population and our program goals. We started talking about how, and I know we got a little about less than mine, so I'm gonna be really quick. Gonna get these slides. we made our communication. We talked about the goals of DRS. I learned about what DRS does and how adult education provides support to all populations. So that made our connection immediate. They're established as an American Job Center program. So we connected and told them, well, we can connect you to Title I. We have referrals to 2 and 3, and definitely including 4 in legislation in there can definitely help us. We invited them over to events. We invited them to employment fairs that are done by our Title II partners, by our Title I partners, by Title III partners, but also to our events. We recently invited them to our area planning committee, which is a large Title II funding body through ICCB, which is actually the largest in the state, and they introduce themselves. So they know these are the services they provide, and that people like myself that are navigators can be help in the network, because we're all over, we're going to be more, as Robert mentioned, all over Cook County by early next year, that we're going to have a lot of access to provide a service delivery model for people to get into Title II. To Title IV through that. So one of those was a big one, and letting them know about the accessibility and opportunity. Sharing our programs and our current participants. We had a participant come into a Title I program in early December last year that was very nervous and showing signs of interrupting the session. And I was listening to everything they were saying and typing, because it seemed to me like a sense of desperation. They weren't understanding the material. They weren't understanding that there was presenters before the orientation. And when I put up my information, the QR code, when like you saw the flyer, they responded. And when I saw their name, I asked my Title I partner, was this the person that was interrupting? They're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna be ready for this one. I want to make sure I'm calm, that I'm patient. And I listened to this individual. They went from being very, very closed, kind of like embarrassed and not showing vulnerability, to learning what we do and what we can do for them, to explaining their condition, which they didn't have to. They had aphasia, and that they had the stuttering that was based on nervousness, to learning about connections, learning about GRS, learning about Title I, and learning about a couple skills that they can build in workforce development, and they stopped stuttering. I was like, they even themselves were like, wow, and started crying. It's like, enjoy, these are things that I brought back to my Title IV presenter. I said, look, this is the person that I'm sending over. So have somebody prepare the same way. Don't be short with them, be very patient and listen to them. They disclosed their one of their conditions. So start with that. And that connection, followed through and went over. So we talk about co-enrollment all the time. We discuss participants all the time that we want to see where they're going, and if they want to come back to any services that we can provide at the AJC or with our Title II partners. But we want to listen to their needs and stay connected. The thing about continuous improvement, we see in number 5, is that we want to make sure that we're in the know. So if legislation changes, something when the process changes, you want to be aware of it, but also communicate it. If there's going to be a loss of funds, there's going to be another state mandated budget for Title II, like it was some years ago with another governor. It's like we want to be conscious of it and sensitive to it and empathetic to it and understand what these trends are. I'm not going to be like, hey, how many recruitments do you need? Without, if I know that there might be a potential of less trainers or less teachers in that particular institution. We want to be in the know when we're approaching it. So with DRS, it's been great. And the thing about the loop is that it returns the one. We got to do check-ins. We don't want to spend more than 90 days without connecting with them. Luckily, they come to our title, to our WEOL partner meetings, so we get to hear from them. If they don't show up, I'm conscious of it. Want to make sure that they show up to the next one. If they don't show up to the next one, I make sure I contact them before they come to the third one. We want to make sure that we're connecting with the right people, and that if the key person or the contact person has changed, that we communicate, that we find out. It doesn't matter if it's a large program or a small program. We want to make sure that our contact people are still in the know, and that if we have to onboard somebody in an established relationship, or have to bring a teaching moment to them, that it's available for them. So lessons learned, we talked about developing deep relationships and, being vulnerable and bringing connections to each other, being knowledgeable about each other's programs and events and our mutual opportunities, and start building and strengthening that relationship. But maintaining that strong relationship by being fully present at each event, being present and knowledgeable at what's happening. I gave you that TAA example. If there is issues with budgeting or anything like that, to make sure that we have that. I just want to let you know that you have audience next steps. I'm challenging you to commit at least 2 new partnership contacts, schedule reoccurring site visits, and make communication sharing plans and check in with your partners frequently. If you have a device separate from the one you're using to look at this presentation, you could scan this QR code. It'll take you to our landing page on ScaleLIT.org. I'll also put it in the chat for those that are present today. Let me see if I can do that really quick. Robert, there we go. And that'll take you to the landing page. You can see a tool that we use to connect with organizations like Title IV, DRS, and some communication methods that are used to send referrals to us. We have a dedicated hub of navigators that check on this. And how do we distribute it? By zip code. They put in their zip code. We know where their geographic region is. We start talking to them. And then we figure out what their needs are. They may choose to go outside of our zip code, but we want to start in the right place by providing immediate services in the immediate geographic area. So that's the QR code. I also put that in the chat. Sorry, we are on social media. Visit us at ScaleLIT.org. We are on all social media under @ScaleLIT. And this, you can connect with us. This is our emails. Robert and I are thankful that you provided us the opportunity to talk to you today. The address below is our central office. I am in the Pilsen American Job Center. Our navigators are housed in American Job Centers. Go to our website, learn more about that. You'll see the flyer that I put in the chat in PDF with contact information. We're open for questions. Thank you so much for coming today.
As Gabe said, we have a couple minutes for questions. If anyone has any, you could unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And if you think of a question later, thank you so much to our presenters for sharing their contact information there. And thank you all for coming today. Thank you so much to our presenters, Gabe and Robert. And remember that all sessions are recorded and available for future viewing, and the slides are also going to be available with this recording on the Transitions Academy website. If you need that certificate of professional development for the session, please send an email and a list of the sessions that you attended to Linda Zimmerman. And I'm going to put her email in the chat one more time. And again, we are going to be cross-referencing the attendance in Zoom to do our very best to get everyone their PD certificates should they need them. So thank you so much again to our great presenters, and thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of your Transitions Academy Fall Convening Day.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you everybody for your good work, and connect. Expand your possibilities. The more that you expand beyond what you think is accessible or not accessible to immediate partnership can turn into surprises to positive impact in your community. Take care, everybody.
Much.
Scale it.